Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'm George Connolly from Scratch Golf Tips, and today we're going to be talking about wedges. Recently I've been getting a lot of questions about wedges. What wedges should I play? What wedges go what distance? What wedge is good for this shot? There's a bunch of questions around wedges. Golf club management is a big part of the game. Having an organized bag that fits your game is key, so I'm going to be going over all that and more right now. So to start off, you are allowed 14 golf clubs in your bag legally. So if you have the standard driver, 3-wood, hybrid setup, along with a 4 through 9 iron and a putter, that's 10 clubs, meaning you have 4 more clubs to play with. Usually one of those is a pitching wedge and one of those is a sand wedge, which would lead to you having 2 wedges, 12 clubs, 2 open spots. So what are you gonna do with those other 2 clubs? Well, there's a few things you can do. One, you could add maybe another hybrid or a long iron, say a 3 iron, maybe a 2 iron for off the tee, or you could add 2 wedges or one of each. It's up to you. In my personal case, I have a 3 iron, which is 1 less club, but I also don't have a hybrid, which gives me 2 more options for my wedges. So I'm gonna show you what wedges I have in the bag right now. I have a standard pitching wedge, which is a Callaway X Forge. This is a 46-degree wedge. I'm gonna tell you the degrees of all these wedges because that's important for later on. I also carry a 52-degree wedge, which is a Callaway MD4. This is considered more of an approach or attack wedge. In some sets you'll see an A wedge, but this is just a gap wedge, kind of a 52. Next, I jump up to a 58-degree wedge. This is also a Callaway MD4. This is a lob wedge. I also use it as my sand wedge. Finally, I have a 60-degree wedge, which is one of the lucky wedges, which I use as a lob wedge as well. My least lofted wedge is the pitching wedge at 46 degrees. Most pitching wedges are anywhere between 45 and 47 degrees. And then my most lofted wedge is actually this 60 degree. So, for those who don't know, the pitching wedge is going to go much further because it has less loft. It'll also go a little bit lower trajectory-wise, and the 60 degree will go much shorter but higher trajectory-wise. A huge part in making the decision around your wedges is knowing how far each club will take you. So for me personally, I know that my pitching wedge will carry right around 131 to 133. That's the carry. Now I know that I get myself into certain positions. I know that I hit a lot of shots from 115 yards, so that's why I have the 52-degree wedge in my bag. This club will generally take me 115. I can get it up to 120 if I want, but it's just understanding how far each club will take you and then what positions you're putting yourself in on the golf course. No point in having a 120-yard shot or a 120-yard club if you're never hitting 120-yard shots. Well, now you may be wondering, how do I know how far I hit each wedge? That's a good question, and there are 2 ways you can answer that question. First, you can just be observant throughout your round. The first way to gauge how far you hit a wedge is by observing throughout a round. If you're faced with a 120-yard shot and you use a pitching wedge and it goes really far, then you're faced with a 130-yard shot and then that pitching wedge hits the spot roughly, you'll know right around how far that pitching wedge will go, right around 130 yards. If you want to get your FlightScope Mevo today, you can use the link in the bio or go to the website and use code SGT50 for $50 off and free shipping for your FlightScope Mevo. Scratch Golf Tips is a proud partner of FlightScope Golf and the FlightScope Mevo, so any purchases you make using that link help support the brand. So now that you have an understanding over your numbers, you can use that information to properly gap through your bag. Generally speaking, a very common gapping would just be a pitching wedge, a 50 or 52 degree wedge, then you go up 4 degrees, so either a 54 or a 56 degree wedge, and then you go up 4 more degrees to a 58 or 60 degree wedge. The reason that my wedge gapping does not follow that 4 degree rule is because between 52 and 58, I don't really have a need for that 54, 56 degree wedge, because that would take me around 105 to 108 yards, and I don't find myself in that position often enough to justify using one of my 14 spots for it. Now, other than just full shot gapping with your yardages, another important thing to keep in mind when you're selecting your wedges is using the shots around the green. Now, a lot of amateurs are tempted to use their lob wedge on just a standard pitch shot and they want to hit it high and have it check. It's a very sexy shot, but it's not always the most effective, and it certainly runs a high risk. Myself personally, I used to love using my 58 degree wedge to do all my chipping, but I found that my 52 degree wedge, I can knock it down a little bit more, play more of a bump and run shot, and it's much safer and much more consistent. So if you find a club that you're working with that you really like to chip with, say it's a 54 degree wedge, then even if you don't like the number that necessarily produces on a full shot, but you love the way it chips, that is huge, so you can absolutely add that to your bag for that reason. Another thing to consider when you are looking at the gapping on your wedges is what you'll use out of bunkers. Greenside bunkers, pitching out of bunkers, and full bunker shots. I personally hit most of my greenside bunker shots with a 58 degree wedge, but there are some people who really like a 60 degree just so that they can get that extra help. Some like a 56 degree, which will be a little bit lower, but it's all about feel and understanding what club you're most confident with. I would always recommend going and testing out some wedges. I know that there are a lot of places where you can test out wedges and hit off of mats, but if you can also find a place where you can not only hit off mats, but have a practice area with some bunkers and some area to pitch and chip, that's also huge. Just seeing what you like and what feels right to you. I hope you learned something from this video. If you have any questions on things that I mentioned or any questions about things I may not have mentioned entirely in this video, feel free to comment them down below. I respond to all comments on this YouTube channel. You can also reach out to me personally on any of the Scratch Golf Tips social media platforms. The username is Scratch Golf Tips across the board, and you can use the DMs to contact me. You can also email me personally at scratchgolftips@mail.com. If you like the apparel that I wear in these videos, I wear John Morgan Sportswear, another proud partner of Scratch Golf Tips. And if you want to shop their apparel at a discount code, we offer 20% discount code if you click the link in the description. And once again, any sales generated through that link help support the Scratch Golf Tips brand. Thank you all so much for watching. Play well and take care.